Young Cultural Creators is a project that was started in London using local libraries and the Tate Gallery. So it all really started with using children's writers introducing young people from local schools to some of the artefacts in local museums and galleries.
YCC is one of those things that when you tell people around about it, it sounds ridiculously simple. You take a writer and a work of art or a place and you put them together with children. I mean, it sounds almost stupidly simple. And yet it's so much more than the sum of its parts. Giving the children a new input in terms of making them look at things they have never looked at before. And doing that with someone whose business is looking, actually, because writers and artists look. That's the most important thing that we do, is we look at the world.
And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry. For he suddenly smote on the door even louder, lifted his head, "Tell them that I came!" And no one answered, he said.
It gives the teachers a different focus, and it just brings new stimulus to the children, really. So I think actually just moving out of the classroom, which is has to be a bit of a laboratory, into something which is real and actual, and also working with different people, getting used to working with different adults too, I think is very important. So I think there's a whole range of things. You know. I think it's tremendous that they've got together a kind of an umbrella under which they've got a whole range of interesting people, and they're pulling together a lot of schools who perhaps wouldn't normally have contact with those people to do some new work, and so I think it's got every chance of being very good.
The teachers already said this morning, we'd never be able to do this in the classroom because we'd just be told to shut up and what are you children doing in here? So coming into a space where they're allowed to make noise, and it's a new space, so it's not in their classroom, and I'm not a teacher, I'm a theatre practitioner, so what I do is run around with the kids and I don't get them to call me sir or miss, so it's just a different style of learning.
And they can experience what might be happening within the picture, so get inside the picture and find out what's going on and what the artist had in his mind or her mind, and to bring it to life.
Rather than being at school and just having to look at pictures that have come off the computer, getting to see them in original.
I think the more learning done out of the classroom, the better. If you want to see things, go and see them rather than look in a book for them, yeah, definitely. Those children that usually misbehave, they come into the forefront, and they're the ones that are enjoying themselves the most. So I think children that sometimes have difficulty in being able to show what they know on paper, if they're able to express themselves, they actually give them the chance to shine, and they shine.
What I want them to get from YCC is a sense of themselves as part of a wider artistic community. So they don't see themselves as separate. So they can see themselves as writers, as artists, as creative people.
Well, I think that one of the most inspirational things about young cultural creators here in Torbay is the range of locations that they're doing activities. So using the zoo, the Brixham Trawler, the Torbay, they're all much more exciting locations. I think it's already proven that children learn far better when they're in a more liberated environment. It's much more creative for them.
Well, what I learned is that you can have a look at the tortoise and watch how it moves, and you can see how interesting it is, and look at the shell really carefully and see what it actually does, instead of just thinking that it's a tortoise and it moves really slow.
Right, a mound. A lot of the children today were very reluctant to write. They didn't want to do it, they said they couldn't do it, and they've all contributed something, and they've all completed together a piece of writing, quite outside of what they normally do as part of the school day, and I think that's a success. A mound of muddy pyramids with a head like a giant bean and a neck wrinkly as a slinky, folded and creased as my grandma's hands, solid stumpy legs like little trees with honeycomb scales and turned-in toes. The tortoise walks so slowly it's got time to waste, grazing all day, dozing in its fortress shell at night, and dreaming away rainstorms in the mud.
It's fun because you're not just sitting at your desk and having a normal routine. It's boring really when you keep the same routine.
They can actually go into the zoo, they can experience the animals as they move around and ask questions at the same time as they're working. So it's education in the wild. I hope they would actually continue and get more funding. I mean, I hope that there would be other things that could take children out of the classroom into looking at their place, the place that they live and work in.
All on the ball so early in the morning. All on the ball in ball.
Learning outside of the classroom is so valuable for children. They have all sorts of associations with the school environment, and as soon as you step outside school, it's new, it's different. They're ready to explore, they're ready to experiment in a way that they perhaps might not be in a familiar environment.
All on the ball so early in the morning. All on the ball bowling. All on the bowling, the captain is a growling. All on the bowling, all!
I think YCC is absolutely unique. This combination of libraries, institutions like museums, zoos like Paynton Zoo, and artists and illustrators does seem to be a new thing, and I'm really glad to say that it's growing and spreading all over the country, so more and more children can benefit from it.
So is all your inspiration from your life?
No, not all of it.
She took some photos and she made them in black and white, and she showed us some paintings of them she did. I find it interesting because it's like not very often where we get trips, but it's very fun.
When you're thinking about the pictures that you're going to do, I want you...
Because this is quite an extended project, so this is runs over 3 weeks on a variety of sites and locations. It's quite ambitious in that sense. I mean, very often I'll do work with, say, a museum or a library for, you know, a day's workshop or something like that.
The initial aim, really, as we're a library service, is to get young people involved in libraries and in learning and their cultural, local environment. And we've had young people coming back to the libraries and actually wanting to read books by the authors, so we've ticked that box. That's been amazing. So that really was our aim, is to get them to see that libraries aren't just dull, fusty old places, that actually do interesting, exciting things.
It's a grand scheme, but it obviously needs time and money behind it, so it's more of a kind of an exception than the rule.